best sign we ever had.
The trend of the yellow or the orange.
An astronaut hears knocking from outside his spacecraft. Another watches a glowing serpent twist through zero gravity. And the moon? It once pulsed with unexplained flashes of light. These aren't wild theories. They're real reports from space. Stay tuned as we reveal the 15 strangest things astronauts have seen. Number 15. Space jellyfish phenomenon. It starts as a quiet glow on the horizon, then unfolds into something no one expects. During twilight rocket launches, observers on Earth and astronauts in orbit have witnessed a bizarre and stunning display, the space jellyfish. As sunlight hits the rocket's exhaust plume high in the upper atmosphere, it creates a glowing, translucent shape that fans out and drifts like a creature from another world. Tendrils stretch, light pulses. The shape floats silently across the sky, massive and ghostly. To the untrained eye, it looks unexplainable. Some have mistaken it for a UFO, others for a living form in space. But the science is simple. It's just exhaust gases catching and bending sunlight at the right angle. The result? A breathtaking optical illusion that's as strange as it is natural. Astronauts on the International Space Station have spotted it from above. Crowds on the ground have watched it in awe. It doesn't mean danger, but it feels like a message. Even when we know how it works, the space jellyfish doesn't look like it belongs to this world, and maybe that's what makes it unforgettable. Number 14. Moon's creepy soundtrack. Space is supposed to be silent, right? Then how come Apollo 10 picked up something that sounded straight up paranormal? Back in May 1969, just before the famous Apollo 11 mission, the Apollo 10 crew was doing a test run around the moon. Everything was chill until they hit the far side, totally out of radio contact with Earth. That's when it happened. Weird high-pitched whistling filled their headsets. Not a glitch, not a blip. This went on for almost an hour. The astronauts were so thrown off, one of them literally asked, "You hear that?"
You hear that? That whistling sound?
Who's gonna believe this? They described it as outer space type music. Creepy, huh? NASA eventually chalked it up to radio interference between modules. But here's the kicker. Why keep that audio locked away until 2008? If it was just tech noise, why not just say so back then? These guys weren't the type to get spooked easy. They trained for every scenario except unexplained moon music. So now people are wondering, did Apollo 10 pick up something Earth tech couldn't explain? Number 13. Chow's Texas UFO shock. Here's a recent one that's got the UFO crowd fired up. In 2024, former NASA astronaut Leroy Chiao, the guy who literally lived on the International Space Station, had a run-in with something strange in the Texas sky. While flying his personal aircraft, he spotted two massive metallic orbs just cruising past. No wings, no sound, no obvious propulsion, just hovering like it was no big deal. Chiao's no rookie when it comes to weird sights. He's a space veteran, but even he was left scratching his head. He guessed maybe it was some kind of military drone, but deep down, he knew that didn't quite check out. These things were moving with intelligence, precision, and zero fear. And he didn't just see one, but two, flying together like they were synced up. That's not your average drone behavior. Now folks are asking, was this a classified military op? Or are we catching glimpses of something we're not supposed to understand yet? Chiao stayed cool about it, but his story adds to a growing list of pilots spotting things that just don't make sense. Maybe the truth really is hiding in plain sight. Keep your eyes up next time it might be over your city. Number 12. NASA's Space Serpent. Dr. Story Musgrave, a highly respected NASA astronaut and scientist, swears he saw something bizarre during multiple space missions, something he called a space snake. According to Musgrave, this wasn't just some random flicker of light or drifting debris. He described it as a long, flexible, eel-like object, twisting and gliding outside his spacecraft like it had purpose. No one else on board saw it, and no instruments picked it up. Still, Musgrave stuck to his story. He didn't claim it was alive, but he didn't say it wasn't either. That's the unsettling part. This guy flew on 6 missions, helped fix the Hubble telescope, and had a rep for being razor sharp. He even said he saw the snake more than once. NASA, of course, brushed it off as ice or insulation peeling away. But come on, ice that slithers. Musgrave never pushed the alien angle hard, but he made it clear. Space is weirder than we're ready to admit. So if the most experienced eyes in orbit saw something unexplainable, who are we to say it's not real? How many secrets are floating just beyond our atmosphere? Quiet, unnoticed, and watching. Number 11. The mysterious space knock. What would you do if you were floating hundreds of miles above Earth and heard someone knocking from outside your spaceship? That's exactly what happened to Yang Liwei, China's first astronaut in space. During his 2003 mission aboard Shenzhou 5, everything was going according to plan until things got real strange. Yang suddenly heard a sharp, repeated knocking, like someone rapping their knuckles against the hull. He looked out the window. Nothing. No debris. No tools floating nearby. Just the vast, silent blackness of space. He even radioed ground control, asking if anyone else had experienced something similar. The answer? Nope. They were just as confused. What's wild is that other Chinese astronauts later said they heard the same mysterious knocking on separate missions. Same eerie vibe. Same radio silence from Earth. Some engineers tried brushing it off, saying maybe the spacecraft was creaking from temperature shifts. But Yang, a seasoned pilot and expert, wasn't buying that. He knew the difference between a creak and a knock. So what, or who, was tapping on that spacecraft? Up there, alone in orbit, surrounded by silence. A knock like that hits different. Could something be trying to make contact in a way we just don't understand yet? Number 10. Pluto Guys UFO moment. Not every night ends with a UFO sighting, but for Clyde Tombaugh, the man who discovered Pluto, one did. And it wasn't some random flash in the sky, it was something that left even him rattled. It was 1949 near Las Cruces, New Mexico. Tombaugh was outside when he spotted 6 to 8 rectangular lights drifting across the night sky. Silent, steady, no blinking, no curve, just a slow, chilling glide. He said it. This was unlike any other phenomena I ever observed. That's coming from someone who spent his life tracking celestial objects. Even wilder, his wife and mother-in-law were with him. They saw it too. It wasn't just Clyde out there tripping. This was a shared moment, and none of them had any clue what they'd just witnessed. Now here's where it gets sketchy. Tombaugh was a known skeptic. He didn't mess with UFO talk or jump to conclusions. But this experience, it hit different. He ruled out reflections, weather stuff, even man-made aircraft. Whatever those lights were, he believed they weren't from Earth. So, if one of the most respected astronomers of the 20th century saw something he couldn't explain, are we really alone up there? It's moments like this that make you question everything. Because if Clyde saw it, who else has? And stayed quiet. Number 9. Apollo 17, followed in silence. No alarms, no panic, just a quiet observation that something, or someone, was out there with them. During Apollo 17's return trip from the moon in 1972, the crew noticed an object drifting alongside their spacecraft. They didn't recognize it. It wasn't listed on any flight checklist. And it didn't behave like space junk. The astronauts used the word bogey, a military term for an unidentified craft. Now, these weren't rookies. They'd trained for years and knew every inch of the ship. If something broke off, they'd know. But this thing, it kept pace. It hovered. It followed. Mission Control acknowledged the report but didn't make much of it publicly. Later, NASA suggested it might have been a piece of the lunar module or a booster panel that got dislodged. But the crew's tone told a different story, measured, cautious, and very aware they were being watched. There were no answers then, and there aren't any now. Just a recorded transmission, a strange object, and a lot of silence. Why did it stay so close for so long? In the vacuum of space, nothing moves without intent. So what was that bogey doing? And who, if anyone, was piloting it? Number 8. STS-80's Strange Circles. STS-80, one of NASA's space shuttle missions, was packed with scientific objectives. But it also came back with a mystery that still sparks debate. While orbiting Earth aboard the shuttle Columbia, astronauts noticed something odd outside their window. Circular objects, bright, smooth, and oddly coordinated, appeared on camera, drifting in a way that didn't match how space debris or ice particles usually behave. These weren't just tiny specks floating around. They moved with purpose, or at least that's how it looked. NASA later explained it away as ice particles reacting to the shuttle's thrusters. But for many who've seen the footage, that explanation doesn't sit right. The objects seem to maintain formation, shift direction subtly, and move with an eerie kind of control. Even astronaut Tom Jones, who was part of the STS-80 mission, addressed the buzz years later. He stood by the ice particle theory, but admitted the footage got a lot of people asking questions. And hey, fair enough. Because when something glides into your view like that, silent, glowing, and uninvited, it leaves a mark. So, were these just frozen flakes dancing in low orbit? Or did the shuttle quietly cross paths with something we're not supposed to understand yet? Whatever those circular visitors were, they made sure STS-80 wouldn't just be remembered for science experiments, but for a moment that still has folks guessing. Get ready for today's mystic topic. The world gasped when footage leaked by Soviet astronauts showed alien beings on the moon. If this chilling clip is authentic, humanity may not be alone or safe. The image depicts dozens of twisted, spider-like aliens crawling across the barren surface, heading toward a metallic beast on legs. Why does the camera cut out just before the creatures reach the rover? And what happened to the cosmonauts who filmed this? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to mention #MysticTopic. Number 7. Glenn's Space Fireflies. Floating high above Earth during the Mercury Atlas 6 mission, John Glenn saw something that no one had warned him about and no one could explain. As America's first astronaut to orbit the planet, Glenn was locked in, focused on every gauge and procedure. Then, out of nowhere, tiny glowing particles began drifting outside his capsule. They shimmered and sparkled, dancing in space like glowing embers. Glenn called them fireflies. They weren't flashing like stars or streaking like meteors. These were soft, floating lights, close to the spacecraft, moving slowly, almost calmly. He tried tapping the capsule walls to see if he could shake them loose. Nothing. They just kept drifting, silent and surreal. Back on Earth, no one had a clue what he was seeing. The mystery sparked a media frenzy. Was it alien life, space energy, or something else entirely? Later missions figured out the glow likely came from frost particles breaking off the capsule and catching sunlight. But Glenn's reaction? That was raw, unfiltered wonder. In a moment of human history built on tech and calculations, something totally unexpected reminded us how little we really know. So what else is waiting out there? Quiet, beautiful, and completely uninvited? Number 6. Skyabs' uninvited guest. One moment, everything outside the station was empty space. Then suddenly it wasn't. During the 1973 Skylab 3 mission, the crew spotted something strange drifting nearby. It wasn't part of the station. It wasn't listed as debris. And yet, there it was. An unidentified object silently floating just outside their orbital home. The astronauts didn't just see it. They photographed it. The image showed a structured, metallic form. Not random, not natural. Something built. NASA reviewed the photo and labeled it as possible space debris, maybe a chunk from Skylab itself. But here's the problem. No equipment had gone missing, and the object didn't match any known part of the spacecraft. For a crew trained to recognize every nut and bolt in their system, this wasn't something to shrug off. It had form, presence, and it was just there. The story never made headlines like other UFO sightings, but among space anomalies, this one holds its weight. Why was something unknown hovering that close to America's first space station, and why did it vanish just as quietly as it appeared? Maybe in space, being watched isn't all that rare. We're just not supposed to notice. Number 5. Orange soil surprise. Not every astronaut finds something that rewrites part of lunar history, but Harrison Schmitt sure did. While checking out Shorty Crater during Apollo 17, he stumbled on something wild, bright orange soil. No joke, on the gray, lifeless moon there it was, a patch of glowing, burnt orange dust. Schmidt, being a geologist, knew this wasn't just some weird shadow or dust trick. He immediately called it out. It's orange. And yeah, that got everyone's attention.
By the orange.
Once the samples were tested, scientists realized this stuff wasn't just odd. It was ancient volcanic glass, formed in high-temperature lava fountains over 3.6 billion years ago. So not only did the moon have fiery volcanic eruptions way back when, but the spot Schmidt found had been hidden underground until a later impact exposed it. Total cosmic accident, and the kind that changes everything we thought we knew. Here's the thing. This find wasn't planned. It wasn't on a checklist. It was raw discovery, the kind that only happens when you're out there with boots on the ground. So if one crater held a surprise like that, how many more secrets are buried in that lunar dust, just waiting to be kicked up? The moon might look quiet, but it's got stories, and we've barely heard the first chapter. Number 4. Apollo 12's lunar escort. As Apollo 12 cruised through space on its way to the moon, the crew noticed something off. A strange object was visible just outside the spacecraft, keeping pace along their flight path. It wasn't part of the rocket. It wasn't space junk. It didn't drift away. It followed. The astronauts called it in, a UFO sighting mid-mission. Trained to stay calm and focused, they logged it without panic, but the moment lingered. NASA later offered a technical explanation, likely reflections or a booster panel catching sunlight. Case closed, right? Not quite. Years later, UFO researchers combed through Apollo 12 mission photos and claimed they found something far more suspicious. In the background of one lunar surface shot, a dark, triangular object appears to hover above the horizon. Some believe it resembles a TR-3B, an alleged top-secret craft many say doesn't officially exist. Of course, NASA never confirmed anything beyond camera anomalies, but that didn't stop the speculation. If something was trailing Apollo 12 into deep space, was it accidental or intentional? They made it to the moon, no doubt. But now the real question is, were they alone out there on that ride through the void? Or were they being observed the whole way? Number 3. Apollo 11's silent follower. 3 days into the Apollo 11 mission, on the way to making history, something unexpected showed up alongside the spacecraft. Buzz Aldrin noticed it first. A strange light moving steadily in the distance. It wasn't flickering like a star, and it didn't match any known object on their radar. The crew kept it low-key, careful with their words when checking in with mission control. No one wanted to say UFO out loud, but the question was definitely hanging in the air. NASA later concluded it was likely a detached panel from the Saturn V rocket that had separated earlier. But here's where the debate kicks in. The object was too far off and moving in sync with them. Space debris doesn't usually act that cooperative. Aldrin has since clarified that he never thought it was aliens, but also admitted they didn't know what it was at the time. And when you're hundreds of thousands of miles from Earth, that kind of unknown carries weight. It didn't interrupt the mission, but it left behind one of the earliest space mysteries caught by human eyes. So what exactly was keeping pace with Apollo 11 on its way to the moon? Number 2. Space has a smell. Space isn't just silent and endless, it has a smell. And astronaut Samantha Cristoforetti got a full dose of it aboard the International Space Station. After a spacewalk, she noticed something strange clinging to the spacesuits. As soon as the hatch opened, a sharp scent hit, like burnt metal or seared steak. Not exactly what you'd expect floating 250 miles above Earth. Other astronauts have reported the same thing. That weird, smoky odor that shows up after contact with the vacuum of space. It's not coming from space itself, since there's no air out there. The smell only hits once the suits re-enter the station and mix with the air inside. Scientists believe it might come from atomic oxygen or particles interacting with the suit's materials, but there's no solid answer yet. And that's what makes it so fascinating. You expect to see strange things in space, but to smell it, that throws people off. The scent doesn't last long, but it stays in astronauts' memories like a ghost of the void they just stepped out of. It's one of those eerie little details about space that reminds us we're still just visitors out there. Number 1. Apollo 17's transient lunar phenomena. How do you explain light erupting from a place that's supposed to be lifeless? During Apollo 17's final mission to the moon, astronaut Ronald Evans reported seeing brief glowing flashes on the lunar surface, specifically near the Grimaldi crater and Mare Orientale. These weren't instrument glitches or distant stars. He saw them with his own eyes from lunar orbit. These strange events are known as transient lunar phenomena, sudden changes in brightness or appearance on the moon that last for seconds or minutes, then vanish. They've been reported for centuries, but few as credible as a NASA astronaut mid-mission. Scientists have offered theories, maybe outgassing, maybe seismic activity, maybe even micrometeorite strikes, but no one knows for sure. And in this case, NASA took the report, noted it, and moved on. The flashes stopped. The moon went back to being quiet, but that eerie flicker remains one of the strangest things ever seen in lunar orbit. If even the moon can light up without warning, what else is waiting to reveal itself? Thanks for watching. If this weird space blows your mind, hit like, subscribe, and drop your favorite mystery in the comments. More strange truths from orbit coming soon.